where does Carter rank with his numbers? Should his numbers have been better? Could have been worse? What are your thoughts overall on his numbers?
I mean, in the last 4 or 5 years, I think 4, 5, 6, or 7 years, he came off the bench, and he was still able to finish his career with 25,000 points. How many players in their NBA career can say that they scored like 25,000 plus points? Also, back to what Mike Miller was saying, he gets shadowed because of like the era he played in, playing next to guys like Ray Allen and Kobe, rest in peace. It's the same thing with stars like nowadays. Like, for example, they're already crowning Zion Williamson as the next LeBron James. I don't think players want to come out of high school or college with that pressure of living up to like the next great player. I don't think Luka Doncic wants to get compared to LeBron every day or Magic Johnson for the triple doubles. I think we should, like in today's NBA, we should just let players play and adjust to the game and do what they need to do. So with Vince playing in an era where Ray Allen was a 20-point per game shooter, playing in an era where sometimes Shaq fouled out and Kobe Bryant had to take the load, he didn't get that luxury of playing with like another superstar. So I think Vince Carter is properly rated in the era that he played in and who he played with.
Well, to piggyback off what you said, not playing with another star, he did play with Jason Kidd. And was Vince still in his prime when he got to the Nets, or was he past that? And he still gave the Nets a fighting chance there in the Eastern Conference. Coach?
I mean, yeah, he partnered up, but that was a little bit after his injury started to take his toll. Like, the injuries really hit him. He became, to make his career, I think the injuries actually helped him in the longevitiness of his career, because he became a better spot shooter and became a good three-point shooter. Talking about a guy, imagine Jordan shooting 37% from three. Right. Imagine Dominique Wilkins shooting 37% from three. Not a lot of high jumping athletes can do that, but T-Mac, we all know what happened. That was the crucial point. If T-Mac would have decided to stay, we're talking about Vince Carter's legacy way differently than T-Mac deciding to go to Orlando.
Mike, he did partner up with Jason Kidd, and he still was able to help them get through some playoffs runs. Was that his peak, or did his peak end after he left Toronto?
I agree with what Coach Mack just said. It was those injuries started to happen, and that knee started to get hurt. I think he had already had the microfracture surgery once he went to the Nets. So from then it was a precipitous decline. Again, he still was able to maintain his 20. And like Coach was saying, he still had his jump shot, but he never got that opportunity. And what kind of cousin is that, T-Mac? You're going to leave your cousin. So if they had stayed together, anything could happen, because T-Mac, look at his career. We could look at his career and say, man, we always talk about if Grant Hill was healthy in Orlando, what would T-Mac have had? Now it's both of them. You should have just stayed with your cousin. They probably have to fight the barbecue about that. But no, I think he was still a serviceable star player, but the superstar, like, he wasn't at that level anymore. That effect that he had, he wasn't there anymore. But he helped them, and they did have Richard Jefferson. They played a little bit with each other. So, but Jason Kidd, was Jason Kidd really a starter? We ain't gonna get into that.
Listen. We know what you believe. You believe Mike Bibby's better than Jason Kidd, so that's another debate, right, Mike?
No, we're not gonna do that today.
That's what he said. No, he opened a can of worms. You opened a can of worms when you said that. You did say that.
Hold on. Listen, let me clarify. I'm not gonna clarify that. I said what I said.
Hold on, hey, listen, Mike.
I said what I said.
Mike, you gotta speak your mind.
Go ahead. I said what I said.
Go ahead, Coach. Coach, what's up?
Was Vince Carter better than Paul Pierce?
Listen.
That's fair to talk about.
Listen.
Now you be honest and tell the truth.
Was Vince Carter better than Paul Pierce? And
I like that, man.
Listen. How are we flipping narratives and asking me questions now? What's up with that?
Answer the question. Answer the question. I like that.
Listen. Okay. Vince Carter was better. I will say that. Vince Carter was better on the scale of his, number one, his popularity. He was a lot popular than Paul Pierce. He's more flashier than Paul Pierce, more versatile, able to finish better than Paul. So from that regard, I say he's better than Paul Pierce. As far as scoring wise, I would say it's neck and neck, because Paul Pierce is an underrated scorer and people don't give him.
Hold on, Andreas, let us know the numbers. I know you got them. You shaking your head.
Was this a setup? This was a setup. I have a feeling this was a setup.
That was it.
You guys set me up. You see, I fell right into the trap. I walked right into the trap. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Andres. Give them to me. Go ahead.
I think Paul Pierce is very underrated defensively. I think he was a better
He
defender
is.
than Vince. I think
I
that's
agree.
like underlooked on both sides of the ball. As far as offensively, Vince could be flashier and all of that, but Paul Pierce was a better scorer and a more efficient scorer than Vince was. So I can't give the edge to Vince on that. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, sir.
See,
I
look, I
appreciate
wasn't
that.
setting you up, man. I was literally just asking
Which is a
a real
legitimate question, and that was a great
great question.
comparison, Mac. That was great. Like,
But Mike, answer the question. What are your thoughts? Pierce and Pierce compared to Carter.
I mean, it's tough, man, because the thing is, there's going to be a sort of a recency bias because we did see Paul Pierce at sort of the apex. He beat LeBron and Kobe. So, like, that's why your man be poking his chest out. Oh, okay. They beat. But we know, hold on, we know how this goes. Hold on, fellas. We know how this goes. We know how this goes. Hold on. We know how this goes. The team, the Boston Celtics beat the Cleveland Cavs, and the Boston Celtics beat the Lakers. Cool. But the reason why Paul Pierce talks so spicy like he does is because he went head-to-head against LeBron and head-to-head against Kobe, the two guys who were at the time the best players in the league, and he got the best of both of them. So when you talk about Vince,
got the best. The team got the best.
No, I'm talking about. Yes.
Nah.
Technically,
Paul Pierce,
it was team, but
listen.
individual matchups. I'm just saying. I'm getting into the mind of the
I
truth.
like it.
His mindset was, bro. I went against the two best players in the league, and my team came out on top, and I did my numbers. So when you think about Vince doesn't have that on his resume to say he went against the two best in the league and he went in 2001. He dropped 50 on AI, but AI 6 feet, Vince is 6. All I'm saying is, I'm rolling with Double P for that one. Just
Coach. Okay. Andres, I'm going to get to you. Coach, where do you stand on that debate, Pierce or Vince Carter?
It's close.
To answer your own question.
It's very close. I do agree with Andres, and Paul Pierce's defense and his grit is super underrated in terms of a player. Yeah. I think regardless of Kevin Garnett, even anybody or Ray Allen, when you came to that team, you had to match Paul Pierce's intensity. And he had that grit. He set that leadership role from the very beginning, so it's easy for those other stars to adjust. I think offensively, the numbers may be higher for Paul Pierce, but I do think at their apexes, when they both were their best, if you compare their best 3 scoring years, you'll find out Vince Carter was a better scorer than Paul Pierce at those apexes. Now, when he got injured, Paul Pierce was really in his prime and only played maybe 2 years outside of really being a 1, 2, or 3 option. And Vince, we saw the last 3, 4, 5 years, he was just a spot up shooter. So if I had to pick him, I'm gonna pick Pierce if I'm constructing that team that already has some pieces where I can win the championship. But if I just needed one star to start a team with, I'm taking Vince Carter.
Andres, you had a quick comment?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Kevin Garnett was the best player in that finals, not Paul Pierce.
Oh my God! I thought you told me it was Ray Allen. Now you're switching it.
They were both better than Paul Pierce.
But do we need to call Ray Jarbison on this one?
No, hold on. I'm going to get to that later. Don't worry, Mac. I'm going to get to that a little bit. Go ahead, Andres.
Piggyback on what Mike was saying, I think that people love to create the narrative that Paul Pierce beat LeBron and the Celtics beat LeBron and stuff. But I don't think people realize that Paul Pierce was a great rival for LeBron. He was one of the best. He brought it to him in that Game 7 in 2008. He dropped 41, I think it was, Carl.
41, yes.
41. So people like to nowadays let's rank LeBron's 3 best opponents. And they throw Paul Pierce out the window like those series never happened. And people failed to realize that when Paul Pierce played LeBron, especially in that 08 series, he was like, all right, so let's go to work. And LeBron was very inefficient in the first 3 or 4 or 5 games. He was inefficient in the series. But when you discuss Paul Pierce and him playing against the greats, you got to put LeBron in there because he was better than LeBron the whole series. So to ignore that is bogus.
True. Fact.
If you're going to talk about the Celtics beating LeBron James, talk about Paul Pierce bringing it to LeBron in Game 7. So if you're going to rank LeBron's opponents all time, there's no way Paul Pierce isn't a top 3 rival. Because every single time they played, it was much CTE.
But hold on,
Simple as that.
I have to interject a little bit, Andres, because it's a great argument. But just to play devil's advocate, when when it's one person, like, I mean, I know the Cavs had all-stars and they had players. When that weight is on you, we saw the difference in LeBron in the Cleveland years and the Miami years.
Sure.
So if we're talking, and I wish I could have seen it, I'm serious. I wish I could have seen prime Heatles versus prime Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
All those guys was in their years, because then I think it's a better comparison of stars head to head, because LeBron had to carry so much of the load. You get to that
Right.
fourth quarter, you're mentally,
That's fair,
physically
yeah.
beaten down. You got nobody else.
What year are we talking about?
I'm
No,
talking
that
about
08,
the
the
08
08 year when they won the chip.
Oh, 08?
Oh, wait,
Okay.
When the Bulls won
He wasn't talking about
Game
2010.
that game 7
I
was
hope,
magical.
it wasn't,
though.
I hope
Talking
it
about
wasn't
2010.
2011 either.
No.
That was
But guys, to get the conversation back to Vince Carter,
yeah.
Allen Iverson, Paul Pierce, Dirk Nowitzki, Shaquille O'Neal, Ray Allen, T-Mac, Tim Duncan, Vince Carter. That was the time post-Jordan, pre-LeBron, Kobe Bryant, late great.
Yeah.
Where does Vince fall in that? Does he fall in the top or the bottom of that superstar? Because
forgot a
there was a
name.
collective.
Oh, you
It was
named
a
like 50. You called me named 50 people,
forgot a name.
and you think we all memorized 50?
Okay, let me say it again. Okay,
Stop on
but again,
Marbury.
listen, just
Don't
remember
even
from
try to
1990.
sneak in Stephon Marbury. No,
Listen,
we ain't
listen,
doing that.
listen,
we ain't
hold
doing
on.
that.
Listen,
we ain't doing that.
Listen,
We ain't
listen,
doing that.
listen,
I heard
listen,
you.
guys.
I heard you, man.
Guys, listen, from the
Carmelo?
time Jordan retired from the Chicago Bulls to 03, so that's 1999 to 03. During that gap, there was no one figure face of the NBA. I like to say there's a collective effort. So you look at Allen Iverson, Paul Pierce, Dirk Nowitzki, Shaquille O'Neal, Ray Allen, Tim Duncan. Then you have Tracy McGrady, you have Vince Carter, you have Kevin Garnett. Where does
Kobe.
he rank during those in those
You
set
put
of
Kobe
stars?
in, right? You said
Kobe
Kobe?
and Kobe.
It's
Yeah.
only one
He's-
person he ranks higher than, really.
No. If
Yes,
if
it's
you're
only
talking
one
about
person.
From
It's
Jordan
only one person,
retiring
100%.
in 90,
Yeah,
90, what Jordan retires 97, 96,
98.
97.
98,
98, excuse me.
98.
Jordan
Yeah.
retires 98, 03. Paul Pierce ain't even in this conversation then.
He's
No,
not.
but
Paul Pierce don't
yeah,
really
he's not.
start cooking till
Yeah.
after 03.
Okay,
And
fair,
they-
fair,
So
fair.
Paul
So,
Pierce
then,
ain't even in
so
this.
does that mean Dirk is out of the conversation too?
Dirk
was
wasn't
better than
really
Dirk at
starting
that
to go
time.
crazy until after that either.
Okay,
When
so
you
then
think
he's
about
out.
it, a lot of these people ain't even in it. If you just going from 98 to 03, Dirk doesn't really hit his big, but he wins his MVP, I think, 06, 07.
Oh,
So
I
seven,
got
yeah.
five guys.
Yes.
Five guys.
Yeah, and he
ahead
should
of
have
him.
won MVP.
Go ahead,
He could have
Coach.
won MVP in 05.
Allen Iverson, Tim
Definitely.
Duncan,
Definitely.
Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is above him. Kobe's above
He
him.
won MVP and win.
The-
04?
04. Yeah.
Those are my-
MVP.
Those
So-
are my five. And I
You're
think you
missing
could
someone.
argue Ray Allen.
You're missing Shaquille O'Neal. You're missing Shaquille
Oh, Shaquille
O'Neal.
O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay,
Sorry, that's
so,
six.
so
That's
you,
it.
so then, Mac, you had AI,
AI, Tim Duncan,
Kobe.
Kevin Garnett, Kobe, Shaquille O'Neal, and
Ray Allen, you
That's
putting
right.
over Vince?
no, Ray
No.
Allen and him. No, Ray Allen's not
That's
over.
neck and neck.
I don't know.
How is that
Listen,
neck and I don't know. How is that? I'm just
I
asking
think-
a fair question,
Vince
Mike.
made it to the Eastern Conference Finals against AI. Like,
He
Vince
didn't. He
have
didn't.
a-
He didn't. He didn't.
That was 01.
The Bucks.
The Bucks
played
did.
the
Ray
Raptors.
Allen did.
Okay,
Ray Allen
Ray
did.
Allen
right.
did.
So right. Oh, so that's the second round. That's the second round.
Right, but
Okay.
Ray Allen did
Oh,
though on the Bucks.
yeah, you're right. Because then they play my Pacers.
He
and got
had
smoked.
big
Yeah,
dog,
we know
big
what happened.
dog
They play my
Robinson.
Pacers and got
Listen,
smoked.
if we're evaluating, okay, so
Amazing.
okay, so here's the new question: Vince Carter or Ray Allen? Prime Ray Allen or Vince Carter?
Vince.
No, it's not as easy as you think it is, Mike.
For me,
It's
it
not,
is.
no, it's not that. Listen,
For me.
Ray,
I said for me.
Ray, for you, why?
I'm biased. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real. No, I'm gonna keep it real because it's because of the feelings I have when everybody started going crazy when he broke my man record. But if we just doing it in a vacuum, we talking about Milwaukee Ray Allen, Seattle Ray Allen,
Yes,
and
Vince, yes,
Ray
Ray.
Allen, yo.
Yeah,
Nah, but yo,
Seattle Ray Allen
again,
was
again, Ray Allen had that team was tough. with
Rashard
the
Lewis,
Bucks.
like
Come
so
on,
the
that was
Bucks
a
team
tough
was crazy too. Tim Thomas, Glenn
No,
Big
no.
Dog, like,
If you look at the
Yes.
stats, Ray Allen was 10 steps above everyone else on that team.